Career versus Mask. An intense, long-running rivalry reaches the climax today on SICW Wrestling Explosion. Hello, I'm Larry Matisick. Gary Jackson and the Big Texan have been butting heads for some time in both singles and tag team competition. Lots of bruises, bumps, and controversy. Today, this is the big one. If Texan wins, Jackson agrees. He retires. His career is finished. If Jackson wins, Texan agrees. He takes off the mask and reveals his identity. The time is here to settle the feud. Right after this. Once more, the exciting 2013 season proved that the Gateway Grizzlies are an important part of the St. Louis and Metro East sports scene. Every game is fun for fans of all ages. Hustling and hard-hitting, the Grizzlies always provide plenty of bang for the buck. In addition, the GCS ballpark is the perfect place to enjoy baseball. The organization, the facility, part of our community. Baseball is America's game, and the Gateway Grizzlies do it right. Keep in touch with new developments. Go to gatewaygrizzlies.com.
Unique and affordable gifts and collectibles on the internet are available at the Black Bear Haversack Trading Post. Go to blackbearhaversack.com. Semi-precious stones, bone horn and soapstone items, abalone shells, genuine coyote and water buffalo teeth pendants, products for Civil War, medieval, and Renaissance reenactments, and so much more. For a 10% discount, mention SICW number 7 when you place your order. It's blackbearhaversack.com for top quality at reduced prices.
Let Custom Truck Upholstery give your vehicle a facelift. Visit us on 707 North 20th Street in East St. Louis, Illinois. Custom Truck Upholstery merges old world craftsmanship and attention to detail with the latest in modern technology to make your car, truck, boat, or motorcycle look like new. Call Custom Truck Upholstery at 618-875-9850.
Gary Jackson heading to the ring for his match against the Big Texan attacking Gary Jackson. The ring announcer hasn't even spoken, and Jackson rammed head first into the steel ring post by the Big Texan. This is a major match. Career versus Mask. Gary Jackson against the Big Texan. Jackson again slammed into the ring post head first by the Big Texan, who is actually holding nothing back. He wants to win this match. Rather that Gary Jackson have his career be finished than have the Big Texan take off that mask. Whoa, through the door goes Gary Jackson with the Big Texan right after him, and they're out in the parking lot. Gary Jackson and the Big Texan are out in the parking lot, and they find their way back in. Texan saying, I can't pin him out here. And then again bounces Gary Jackson's head off of that ring post. And then wipes his feet. I guess he got some moisture on his feet as he is outside the ring. The East Carondelet Community Center is packed to see this match as Gary Jackson is pounded on by the Big Texan. But Jackson fights back. He held onto that rope and then tries a flying cross body block. That didn't work. Look out below. Look out below, and the Big Texan delivers a massive backdrop, a type of suplex to Gary Jackson, and begins putting the boots to Gary Jackson. And then a surfboard, the surfboard hold by the Big Texan on Gary Jackson. A muscular, powerful man, Gary Jackson. He's had a lot of years in this business. He's earned the great reputation that he has as the Texan pulls back on that chin lock. Gary, a St. Louis favorite. He grew up in St. Louis. He grew up watching wrestling at the Chase. He grew up getting free tickets from his mother, who worked at Ruggeri's restaurant with none other than the late Mickey Garagiola. Mickey would get free tickets for their matches and give them to Gary's mom so Gary could come to the matches at Kiel Auditorium and Channel 11. Now, Gary, after all those years, after all those bumps and bruises, is this the end for Gary Jackson? And the Big Texan, he started out and started wearing that mask very early in his career. Nobody really knows what he looks like under there, at least not outside the very close-knit wrestling community. Well, maybe we find out tonight, maybe we don't. The Big Texan doesn't want to lose that mask. That's his identity, is the way the Big Texan looks at it. The Texan comes across with a clothesline and puts Jackson down, hooks the leg but only gets a count of 1 on Gary Jackson. As the Texan argues with referee Jim Harris, he managed to get his hand right on the windpipe of Gary Jackson. Sneaky, sneaky Big Texan. Gary Jackson a little bit the worse for wear right now. Jim Harris standing right up to the big Texan. A good referee. He pushes Texan back, and there's Gary Jackson with a jab, a right cross, and then a chin buster by Gary Jackson. Texan down and staggered and catches a boot to the face by Gary Jackson. Jackson off the ropes and a big kick into the chest. Again, the boot planted into the sternum of the big Texan by Gary Jackson. Count of 2, but no, Texan's underneath the ropes. He's not going to get a pin there. No mask is coming off for Gary Jackson right now. There are actually some people yelling for Texan. They've seen him for a lot of years and they respect him, and there are a lot of people yelling for Gary Jackson, the Night Train. Gorgeous Gary Jackson. He's had a couple of nicknames. He's earned each and every one. He's earned each and every bit of applause. And once in a while, when he has his rules, like he says, I'll cheat to win, and he doesn't mind doing that. Gary Jackson kicking the big Texan, working his way down his body, a kick to the thigh, and then to the boot, and then to the other ankle. Gary Jackson, and then an elbow drop to the head. Gary Jackson covering the big Texan, but Texan easily shoves him off. That's a big, strong man who every now and then, I'll tell you, he surprises you with how well he does move in that ring. The big Texan, surprisingly agile for someone who's carrying over 300 pounds. He knows how to use his size, and he takes good advantage of it right there, pushing Gary Jackson into the corner. Over 300 pounds on the big Texan, and he's making good use of every ounce of it. Jackson, again, pushed into the corner. These guys have been on opposite sides of tag matches. The big Texan and Waco have gone against Gary Jackson and Chaz. Remember that match? Chaz Weston and Gary Jackson against Waco and the big Texan. That was a wild one. And they've had plenty of singles matches, rough and tumble matches. But now, settle it. Get it over with. They had some rough bumps a couple weeks ago where Gary Jackson was pinned in a match with Dave Vaughn strictly because of the interference of the big Texan. That really was the thing that set off this final moment, this climactic moment, where we're going to find out either who's under the mask or we're going to say goodbye to Gary Jackson. The big Texan into the air, checking underneath, going down. That's a type of Vader bomb. Driving down on Gary Jackson. And look at Gary scoot over so he can just put his foot on the ropes. That means, number one, he's smart enough to know where he is, and number two, he's hurting. He had enough wind knocked out of him. He didn't think he could push Texan off. But Gary never quits. He comes up fighting, comes up punching. Jackson pushes the Texan into the corner, then drives his shoulder into the stomach, and again, Beefin fires away with those hard left jabs and a right cross to the big Texan. Arm whip into the corner by Jackson. And Gary walks right into the boot. He really tried to follow up the arm whip as close as he could so that Texan couldn't respond. But Texan, he responded and responded well, responded quickly. This match means everything to both men. It's that simple. Texan, more kicks, trying to wear down Gary Jackson. In the end, they both know it's going to take a lot to finally finish either man. They know it's going to be tough. They know it's going to be hard. You have to look for that one quick opening, or it's simply a war of attrition. You got to batter, pound, take the other guy down, do everything you can to hurt him. Going into a camel clutch, the big Texan pulling back on the chin of Gary Jackson. Look at that pressure on that neck. As big and strong as the neck of Gary Jackson is, when you're caught in that camel clutch for a long time, you're going to be hurting. And that neck, when the neck is hurting, the whole body's vulnerable. Any wrestler will tell you, once your neck's in trouble, you're in trouble. And that's what the big Texan's thinking right now. Let's do something to make Gary Jackson hurt. Again, forearm bouncing off the chest, perfectly legal. Just trying to do something again to knock some wind out, to do anything to wear down Gary Jackson. And Texan drops his full body weight into the lower back of Gary Jackson. Try for a pin. Count of 1, 2. That was kind of close. Jackson, that was kind of close. That scared him a little bit. Gary says, I can't get in that position again. Once more, he comes back fighting. Gary, a fighting man throughout this match. He's been in trouble a couple of times, but he comes back with hard punches. You can tell right now his neck, his spinal column, everything's aching on Gary Jackson, trying to handle the big man, the Big Texan. Forearm uppercut by Gary Jackson on the Big Texan. Once more the forearm uppercut. Texan bounced into the corner. Jackson lifts. No, he tried to lift him for a body slam. Well, not too many people have body slammed the Big Texan. That has happened very seldom. A hard kick into the rib cage by Big Texan on Gary Jackson. You could hear the whoosh as some more wind came out of Gary Jackson. Just a hard, vicious kick right into the rib cage by the Big Texan. Hooking the arm, hooking the head, thinking suplex. Yes, snap suplex by the Big Texan on Gary Jackson. Going for that pin again. Jackson kicks away, but he's not bouncing right up. More and more the match taking its toll on Jackson. Big Texan gets across the top of Gary Jackson. The referee says, don't be strangling, stay off that throat. A little bit of arguing between the Big Texan and Jim Harris. That's really not something the Texan wants to do. Don't waste time arguing with the referee. Not in a match like this. Too much at stake. Jackson whipped to the ropes. And Jackson grabbed by the throat. The Big Texan goes for the choke slam. The choke slam. Oh, we saw a week ago Jake Durden use that to pin Dave Vaughn. The choke slam. 1, 2, and Gary Jackson again saves himself at the count of 2. The big choke slam. Look out. This will be the giant splash. The giant splash, and Jackson rolls away. Gary Jackson got away from the giant splash, and thank goodness he did if you're a Gary Jackson fan, because if the Big Texan lands that giant splash, it's curtains for Gary Jackson. Jackson lifts. He gets him up. The body slam. The Big Texan body slam by Gary Jackson. I see Waco at ringside. Waco's come out to urge on his partner, even though they've had some disagreements here lately. Waco's at ringside to urge on the Big Texan. Jackson whipped. Oh, no. The reverse whip caught. And now the Texan goes for a sleeper hold. Of all things, a sleeper hold. The Texan, obviously, he's been doing his homework. He has a sleeper hold on Gary Jackson. Jackson has to be shocked to find out that the Big Texan knows how to put on a sleeper. And there he is, sagging down to one knee. Referee Jim Harris keeping a close eye. If Jackson can't get that arm up, Jim Harris is going to stop this match and award the decision to the Big Texan, and Gary Jackson will be finished. Waco urged it outside the ring. The crowd chanting, urge it, urge it. Oh, the Big Texan, did he reach out? Yes, he reached out for Jim Harris, and he bumped Jim Harris into Gary Jackson. Hooks Jackson. Wait a minute, what's Waco and the Big Texan up to? I see the rope shaking. Oh my. Waco comes off of that loaded mask, and he hits his own partner. Waco hit his own partner, the Big Texan. Drop kick by Jackson knocks Waco out of the ring. Waco hit his own partner, his own friend, with that headbutt, and now a headbutt from Gary Jackson. Down goes the Big Texan. Elbow drop by Jackson. He covers the Big Texan. The referee counts 1, 2, and 3. Jim Harris counts 3, and the Big Texan, who came so close to winning this career versus mask match, he came within a hair, and instead it's Gary Jackson saving his career as he pins the Big Texan. After Waco, with a loaded mask, hit his own partner, Gary Jackson followed up with a headbutt of his own, and then an elbow drop, and he got the pin. Waco comes over. What's he got? He's got a towel. He's got a towel, and he's trying to cover the face of the Big Texan. The referee has already said, or rather the ring announcer has already said, the Big Texan has to unmask. Waco covering his partner's face, and no, Big Texan won't do it. Big Texan pulls the towel off. What did he just say to Waco? I gave my word. He just said, I gave my word to Waco. I gave my word to Waco. Waco's saying, put the towel over your head. Take the mask off, put the towel over your head, and nobody will know. The Texan says, no. He says it again, I gave my word. And he points at Gary Jackson, and Waco, disgusted, leaves the ring. Waco leaves his friend, his partner, and the Big Texan all alone in that ring with the mask that he's used to make a name for himself throughout SICW in the Midwest. Take it off, the crowd chants. Take it off, you can hear him saying it. And Gary Jackson waits in the corner to see what the Big Texan will do. Jim Harris realizes, hey, this is kind of a melancholy moment. Herb Simmons, the promoter, just grabbed the mic and says, Texan, you gotta take it off. Oh my, hard to do. A hard moment, and there is the unmasked Big Texan, Big Jim Hoferth. Big Jim Hoferth, who's earned every bit of the reputation he had, that he has in this match. And look at that, the crowd applauding for Jim Hoferth as he reveals himself to be the Big Texan. A reputation he earned, and now it's gone, it's over. The mask is gone, it's off.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember,
and Jim Hoferth reaches out for Gary Jackson and shakes his hand. My, what will we see next? The Big Texan is no more.
The sensational new book by Larry Matysik is on sale now. The 50 Greatest Professional Wrestlers of All Time, The Definitive Shoot. Who was the best and why? Who's not on the list and why not? It's a fun read with tales of the greatest and those who were close. Get the inside stories about pro wrestling. Remember, Larry's other books, Wrestling at the Chase, Brody, and Drawing Heat the Hard Way, are available too. And get the hot bestseller now, The 50 Greatest Professional Wrestlers of All Time. This is the one that every wrestling fan needs.
For the best deal on pre-owned cars and trucks, check out King Auto Sales in Cahokia, Illinois. Buy here, pay here. It doesn't get easier than that. Easy terms and financing on the spot for the best deals on all makes and models of pre-owned cars and trucks. You can't beat King Auto Sales, 2915 Camp Jackson Road, Cahokia, Illinois. That's King Auto Sales in Cahokia, where the customer comes first. Phone 337-7050.
Let Custom Truck Upholstery give your vehicle a facelift. Visit us on 707 North 20th Street in East St. Louis, Illinois. Custom Truck Upholstery merges old world craftsmanship and attention to detail with the latest in modern technology to make your car, truck, boat, or motorcycle look like new. Call Custom Truck Upholstery at 618-875-9850.
July 10th, the Police Relief Association
Put 6 good wrestlers into the ring and action is guaranteed. So it was on Wrestling at the Chase, June 6, 1982, when Roger Kirby, David Price, and Jerry Brown met Dewey Robertson, Mike George, and Rufus R. Jones.
For the Police Relief.
Chief Eugene Camp, who I might add, is a big wrestling fan, has long been a supporter of wrestling. He's at most of the matches. Robertson, pulled into the corner by David Price. A lot of the policemen are big supporters of wrestling. Go right from the high command down to the guys on patrol. Of course, those are troopers too, boy, out there doing a tough job every day. And nobody ever says thanks.
So true.
Jerry Brown and Dewey Robertson are in there right now. No falls have been scored yet. Brown drops Robertson, throat first across the top rope. And we don't say thanks often enough to the great fans of the area. Their enthusiasm, their intelligence, their sportsmanship, staying away from the stupid stuff, the throwing, the ridiculous stuff that you see in some other sports. The wrestling fans know it takes an idiot to do something like that, and we don't have idiots. Dewey Robertson trapped in the corner by Kirby, Jerry Brown, and David Price. Triple team briefly. Robertson dropped by Kirby. May look like there are 6 men in that ring in those 2 big tag matches. Grayson Murdoch against DiBiase and Rhodes. Patera and Blackwell against the Von Erich boys, David and Carey. Jerry Brown with a forearm smash on Dewey Robertson. Brown pounding on Robertson.
Yeah, you got to give credit to the promoter, Pat O'Connor. I mean, he is
Matchmaker Pat
carrying on
O'Connor.
a tradition. I mean, he came up with some card, I'll tell you
Well,
that.
listen, Pat would be the first to tell you, and I would too. Once in a while, you sit down with that consultant, Sam Muchnick. Say, hey, what do you think?
5 minutes left, 5 minutes.
5 minutes remain in curfew, and the referees are saying the tag was not legal, and Jerry Brown belongs in there. Mike George makes sure he gets in there. Forearm smashed by Mike George. Brown caught in the stomach by a shot from Mike George. The always reminds me of Bobby Manigault, former world champion. A lot of great matches here in St. Louis in the 40s and 50s. Brown makes a tag to Price. Mike George is a man in a hurry today, isn't he? As soon as somebody gets tagged, Mike pulls him in. He made a mistake. Oh, is he trapped? Here comes Rufus. George still trapped. Jerry Brown doing the work underneath, holding on to that leg, trapping Mike George in the corner. The referees are getting Kirby back, and I don't think in all the confusion they see Jerry Brown underneath there hanging on to the leg. And right now, George is weight on top, and I don't know if Brown could go if he wanted to. He got squeezed pretty good. Don't forget, he was underneath George, Kirby, and Price.
I'll tell you one thing, though. Jerry Brown was thinking there. He held him in that corner.
He held onto that leg and tried to catch his breath at the same time. Price over the top. Mike George really tags Price with a knee lift into the stomach. Kirby flails away at Mike George. Hooks the head. Suplex by Roger Kirby on Mike George. He covers Kirby. Kirby rather covers George. George throws Kirby off. Getting lost in this hot and heavy action. It's a good thing we got some out-of-town programs coming up. I need a break.
I tell you, this has been some day.
Wrestling from St. Louis, don't forget, we'll be back on television July 3rd and 4th. We'll be around for that.
3 minutes left, 3 minutes.
The Greco-Roman back body drop by Jerry Brown. He crawls across the shoulders of Mike George, and Dewey Robertson breaks it up. Tag made to Price. George trying to get over and make a tag. He's still stunned, and he couldn't get to his partners. Price, oh, tried to backflip George, and George caught him with a kick. Tag made to Rufus. Rufus winds up and drops him. An elbow smash to the head by Rufus R. Jones. Price hurled to the ropes. Up and over the top. Rufus has a freight train rolling. Body slam. Rufus goes for the pin. Brown breaks it up. Kirby was there too. Roberts is after Kirby. George is after Brown. All 6 men in the ring. It's a Donnybrook.
6 men, 2 referees, 4 cameramen, 1 director.
And you and I may find somewhere safe. And it wasn't even safe when the Bruiser was out.
2 minutes left, 2 minutes.
David Price staggers to his feet. Headbutt by Rufus. Rufus covers Price. Count of 1, 2, 3. There it is. The first fall. The first fall belongs to Rufus R. Jones, Dewey Robertson, and we still can't pull them apart. Mike George, we're checking the clock, and I think we have a winner in the match. Yes, the curfew will be eaten up by the rest period. That's the first fall. It's the only fall. We still can't pull everybody apart, and Mickey Garagiola very carefully thinking about getting into that ring. Jones pinned Price. That was the first fall. There comes Roger Kirby after Rufus again. Jerry Brown is after Mike George. Mickey Garagiola says, where's my microphone? Mickey Garagiola says, where's the Bruiser to protect me? And I think finally some order is restored. We've got the microphone back in the ring to Mickey. And maybe, with a little luck, if we can keep them apart and we live right, we're going to hear the time on that fall and the match from Mickey Garagiola.
With time running out, the winner of the only fall and the match, a team of Dewey Robertson, Rufus R. Jones, and Mike George.
You couldn't ask for more action from Wrestling at the Chase. There's Rufus R. Jones after all 6 men were in the ring. And it had been a wild one. You can see everybody in there. There's Rufus lining up Price for that head-cracking headbutt. Down goes Price. We still have some action in the ring. They never even got out. They're battling again, and the match is over officially, but there's Rufus R. Jones making the pin. You can see Dewey Robertson making sure that nobody gets to Rufus, so that Dewey, Rufus, and Mike George get their hands raised in token of victory. I'll tell you, it's been wild and woolly on wrestling at the Chase. The referee's still trying to get everybody out of that ring, and it's a tough job. And I'll tell you, it's going to be a tough job for Dick the Bruiser to take that gold belt away from Ric Flair. Believe me, the Bruiser knows it. Flair's had some problems, but he recognizes this fact. He got to the top because he's the best, because he's beaten the best, and now he's going to have to prove it one more time.
From the World Series champion Tigers in '45 to the Gateway Grizzlies to the '03 State Tournament Belleville East Lancers. A tradition in baseball and an even longer tradition in fine furniture and service. Miller Furniture, 1004 East Main in Belleville.
Farm music and fun. The place to party is Pop's nightclub and concert venue in Sojay. From Bruno Mars or the first U.S. tour of Nickelback to Flogging Molly or the Insane Clown Posse, 30 years of memories pack Pop's concert venue with more made at every news show. And there's a party at Pop's nightclub every night. A melting pot of friends enjoy the best in dance, rock, pop, and top 40 music until 5:30 a.m. Plus add a full game room. Check out all the action at popsrocks.com. Then and now, the place to party is Pop's in Sojay. Once more, the exciting 2013 season proved that the Gateway Grizzlies are an important part of the St. Louis and Metro East sports scene. Every game is fun for fans of all ages. Hustling and hard-hitting, the Grizzlies always provide plenty of bang for the buck. In addition, the GCS ballpark is the perfect place to enjoy baseball. The organization, the facility, part of our community. Baseball is America's game, and the Gateway Grizzlies do it right. Keep in touch with new developments. Go to gatewaygrizzlies.com. Wrestling's a funny business, isn't it? The Big Texan always had his fans. No matter how rough he was, he broke his share of rules and heard plenty of boos. But listen to this response when Texan lost a nip-and-tuck decision to Gary Jackson and had to unmask. Texan kept his word and removed the mask. In the process, he earned the respect of both foe and fan. Who knows how it goes for Texan from here on, but it'll be fun to find out. Of course, it's always fun to find out what happens when SICW Wrestling Explosion gets the spotlight.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember December 14th is the day. Be back here for the last card of the year. And give it up for Gary Jackson and the Big Texan.